everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Luckiest T-Shirt. If you're joining me on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. If you're listening on iTunes, on the podcast, thanks for listening. Much appreciated. We got a couple things going on today. We got some tasty treats. I got a combo of the day. We're going to be talking about some spoilers from Dragons of Tarkir. And lastly, we'll be talking about the league that I play in, and we've made some changes to our format, and I think some of you out there would like them very much. So let's get right into it. First off, last pack of Fate Reforged that we are going to open as a tasty treat until further ado. Then we'll open them again later one day. I don't know. So let's open this up here. See what kind of juice we get. We'll just go right to the rare. All right. Ooh, we got a good one today. We got a Soulfire Grandmaster. So this guy is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human monk. He has lifelink. Instant and sorcery spells you control have lifelink. And he has this crazy ability of 2 and a blue-red and a blue-red. Those are hybrids. The next time you cast an instant or sorcery from your hand this turn, put that card into your hand instead of into your graveyard as it resolves. So it's essentially an old mechanic called buyback. And this has buyback for 4, essentially. So resolves, you get all your burn spells back to your hand. If you get this card late enough in the game, you can just start chaining together, instants to just wipe your opponent out. It's seen a bit of play in Standard. I haven't seen it in too much in any EDH play groups yet, but I'm sure it'll happen eventually. This might be a good Tiny Leaders card too. Who knows? The rest of the pack is the same old shit that we've been opening up for the last couple months. A lot of people have said, where did Fate Reforged go? It feels like it's only been here for a short time. Well, it's a small set. I do enjoy the cards in it. I haven't gotten to draft very much of it. In fact, I've done 2 drafts. But as far as playing in the space of Commander, I could use some of these new cards. Yeah. So let's start talking about them. We've got all but one of the dragons in a cycle of, I think there are 20 dragons printed in this set. Let's have a look here. So we got the Dragon Lords as usual. So the Dragon Lords are essentially reimaginings of the dragons from Fate Reforged. So they all have similar names, but they're all Dragon Lord, Dramoka, Salamgar, Ojitai, Atarka, and Kalagan. We have their commands, where we have all of the commands spoiled except for one. Then there's a cycle of rare dragons. There's a cycle of uncommon dragons. All of these so far are 2 colors, and each color pair is considered a brood, so we have 5 broods. And then we have a cycle of monocolored dragons that are called regents, and the only one we haven't seen yet is the blue one. So hopefully that'll be coming out soon, but the regents are also rare. This cycle, a little bit costlier, between 4 and 7 mana, but they're all monocolored, like I said. So it looks like we're just missing 1 dragon. Oh shit! There's another cycle here too. I missed. There's a cycle of megamorph dragons that appear to all cost 6. Again, we're missing the blue one. I don't know if there will be a blue one, but it's not here yet. And each of the cycle of megamorph dragons have a keyword ability besides flying. So the white one is lifelink, black is death touch, red is first strike, blue is trample, green is trample. Maybe blue is going to be hexproof or I don't know. What would blue be? They all cost 6 to play or 7 to megamorph. And they all have, when you flip it up, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So that's the cycle of dragons. Looks like we're going to have 25 dragons printed in this set. That's quite a few. So for you Scion the Dragon players, you're going to have quite a bit of fodder to choose from. And that brings me to the combo of the day this time. We've got Dragon Lord Atarka. So he is 7 mana. That's 5, a green, and a red for an 8/8 flying trample elder dragon. So you can use him as your commander if you like. And when he enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control. Well, what's cool about this guy is you can have Nightshade Peddler on the battlefield. He is a 2 mana. I think he's 2 mana. I fucked this up again. I'm just typing right now. That's all. So Nightshade Peddler is indeed 2 mana for a 1/1 with Soul Bond, and he's a human druid. As long as Nightshade Peddler is paired with another creature, both creatures have Death Touch. So this is a good way to get Dragon Lord Atarka Death Touch before his 5 damage trigger resolves, which means when he comes in, the way it's worded, it says when he enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage divided. So if there are 5 opponent's creatures on the board, you simply give him, soul bond him, stack your triggers so you soul bond him first. Then he has Death Touch, and you deal 1 damage to 5 different things. And boom, they all go away. It's a simple but effective combo for getting rid of 5 creatures right now. All right. So let's move on and talk about some of the other spoilers. We've got 2 more legendary creatures. So we've seen Sidisi, and so we've seen Sidisi as far as, since the reality, the future has changed. Sidisi has changed a bit. He's now a zombie Naga as opposed to just a regular Naga. And now we get to see Anafenza, who is now a spirit soldier, and she's 2/2 for 2 white. She's a legendary creature, obviously, and whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, bolster 1. So now she's a spirit. She's not actually a soldier. She's not a con. She was martyred for her faith in the ancestors, or believing in the old ways. And Dromoka said, Dromoka the dragon, we only honor the living. We don't honor the dead anymore. That's unnatural. That's uncool. So because Anafenza wouldn't change her ways, I guess they killed her. And now she lives on as a kin tree spirit. So now you have a 2/2 for 2, a legendary white creature. This goes well in as the leader of, a white weenie strategy where, you're playing little dudes every turn. Well, now you're also bolstering your smallest dude, so your weakest link gets stronger. Next one I want to look at is Little Zurgo. Oh, he's so cute now. He's a Bell Striker. Little Zurgo. Oh, how you've changed. So, Little Zurgo Bell Striker. He's 1 red for a 2/2. In the same vein as the Hound of Khanda. Is that what it is? Yep. It used to be a 1 white for a 2/2 vanilla. Now this is 1 red for a 2/2. It's not quite vanilla. It says he's a legendary orc warrior, and he can't block creatures with power 2 or greater. And he has dash for 1 and a red. So you can just play him turn 1 as a 2/2, or you can play him turn 2 as a 2/2 with haste that you got to pick up at the end of your turn. I guess as your commander, you could keep dashing this from the command zone. You could dash it from the command zone once, and then it comes back to your hand. And then you could keep dashing it from your hand. Otherwise, you could just play it as a 1-mana 2/2 and play an equipment deck, a mono-red equipment deck, which I don't think would be terribly awful. You could use Duretti, the artifact graveyard swapping planeswalker commander, to have that kind of style of deck where your artifacts are constantly bouncing in and out of your graveyard and maybe landing on Zurgo and then landing on people's face. Who knows? Could be good. Next, I want to talk about, so in Khans of Tarkir, we had Bear Punch, and now we've got Dragon Punch instead. So this is Epic Confrontation. It's 1 and a green for a sorcery. It says target creature you control gets +1/+2 until end of turn, and fights target creature you don't control. So the picture is of, it looks like, what's his name, Surok, punching a dragon in the face and knocking a tooth out, which is pretty cool. And I think it's just strictly better than Savage Punch. They were both sorceries. They both cost 2. And Savage Punch, you had to have Ferocious, so you needed 4 power on the board to get any pumps. And this one, the pump is less, but there's no stipulation on it. You just straight up get it. So I think this one's actually a little bit better. I think it'll be a good removal spell for green and draft. And it could see some EDH play. And last one I want to talk about as far as spoilers. The big boys here, Sarkin Unbroken. So 2 printings of Sarkin in the same block. But now he's not mono-red anymore. He's not red-white. He's not red-black. He's still red, but he's also blue and green now. So I guess he's found his calling. He's found his colors. He's his own man. He's reformed. He's Sarkin the Unbroken. And the question is, for 5 mana, 2 green, blue, and red, do you draw a card and add 1 mana to your mana pool, or do you play a 4/4 dragon? So planeswalkers tend not to live very long in Commander, especially planeswalkers that pump out 4/4 dragons. They tend to be targeted, and the other 3 players do everything they can to get this fucker off the board. Well, Sarkin, this guy, I think you're putting a dragon out to start with because you're going to want to protect him. So if you have any way of protecting him on the board, your chances get a little bit better. And a 4/4 dragon with flying is a good way to protect him. So if you +1 and you draw a card, let's say you draw a counter spell, or depends how you've set up your deck, you can draw a burn spell or another creature, and you get 1 more mana. Well, that 1 mana might help. Maybe you get a chump blocker, or I don't know, something. The question is, for 5 mana, if you want to try and get this guy to another turn, which is better, drawing a card and adding 1 to your pool, or the 4/4 Flying Dragon? And my guess is the 4/4 Flying Dragon, but going down 2, so you put him down to 2, now he's in fairly easily burnable range. I don't know, it's a tricky one. But if you want to get to this ultimate, and if you're playing a dragon deck, you want to get to this ultimate because it's -8. Search your library for any number of dragon creature cards and put them onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. So basically, put all creatures in your deck, if you've built a dragon deck, onto the battlefield. That seems pretty good. Are you ever going to get there? It's going to be rare. You're going to need a doubling season, which is in this colors. So if you Wow, that's a combo right there. Sarkin Unbroken and Doubling Season. And if you haven't played with Doubling Season or know how they interact with Planeswalkers, it's real simple. They come in with twice as many loyalty counters as they would normally come in with. So for you play Doubling Season this turn, if it sticks, which it shouldn't because the people you're playing with should know that has to go, then you play Sarkin Unbroken. It gets 4 counters and then another 4 counters, and then you get to activate it. You -8 it and put all the dragons in your deck onto the battlefield. So Doubling Season is pretty much a combo with any Planeswalker, but with this guy, that seems Sarkin's just broken. You know, like he's busted. It's broken in that interaction. As a 5-mana, 4 loyalty Planeswalker whose +1 is good. Drawing a card is good, but for 5 mana in the big format, you're not like it's 1 card, right? People will give you cards in this format. And one little quick card I want to talk about, Haven of the Spirit Dragon. It's a new land. It says you can add a colorless to your pool, or you can spend 1 mana of any color to cast a dragon spell, or you can pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice it to return a dragon card or Ugin Planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. So if you've had an Ugin die, you can bring them back. And if you're at 8 mana, if you already had enough mana to play Ugin, and then have it die, your opponent's recovered. If you're getting that Ugin back, there is no recovering now. Like, whatever he did to get rid of your Ugin in the first place, that was good. You know, like, kudos. It's really hard in draft to fight through an Ugin. But the fact that now you can just get it back, and this has definite use in EDH, because it's not easy to get Planeswalkers back to your hand once they've hit your graveyard. So the fact that this land can get that Planeswalker specifically, that powerful Planeswalker back to your hand, that's pretty big game. All at the cost of, a land that taps for colorless. You know, it's still a land. It's still good. You're probably only going to play this in a dragon deck. You're not going to be playing Ugin and play this just to try and get Ugin back. I think that's a bit of a waste of the land slot. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they print 5 Ugins in the next set. You know, like it's pretty specific to bring back or Ugin Planeswalker. So my guess is they're going to be printing Ugin again. But this is a lot better than the dragon storage land that they printed in Fate Reforged. It just seems more useful. I mean, it can be a color if you're casting a dragon, or it could just be colorless if you're not. So I think it's a good card. All right, so moving on. I want to talk a bit about what we do at our league, at my EDH league. You know, it's a program that's set up to be casual, but we want to provide incentives for playing the game well. You know, we want people to come together and there to be a goal, and the goal is to try and win the evening, to get prizes and have rankings and have a good time. So in a casual format, it can be difficult to incentivize winning while at the same time promoting casual play, So what we've done is we've created a list of achievements, and we used to have them written on a sheet. And so we had about 120 achievements, and each one had a points ranking, and they actually had a points range, right? So you would be, say, controlling 7 basic lands was an achievement, because in EDH most people are playing their duels and their shocks and their fetch lands and their all kinds of lands that aren't just forest, plains, island, swamp, mountain, right? So we had an achievement just for a couple points, and it could be, I believe it could have been between 10 and 30 points for just controlling 7 basic lands, right? So we had all these achievements, and they would pick, I think it was 8 or 10 of them at random each night, and each pod, that was their achievement list to try and do this game. So it didn't necessarily matter who wins the game, because it's the person who got the most achievements that gets the most points that wins the prizes. So there are points for knocking out other players. There are points for ending the game on time. We run 75-minute rounds, 85 if you're in a 5-man pod, because 5 men. It's funny how it's exponential, right? So if you have 2 players playing, the game's probably going to take 15 minutes, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. If you have 3 players, well, now you're looking at half an hour. If you have 4 players, it's like an hour 15 roughly, or maybe a little longer. And then if you have 5 players, it's all fucking day. You're going to be sitting there all day. Nobody's going to win. It gets frustrating as fuck. So 4 players is kind of the sweet spot for the game of EDH. But we give the 5-player pods, because it happens sometimes, the extra 10 minutes. So anyway, so we have the achievement sheets. If you get the most points for the night, then the top X number of players, they win prizes. And there's no first, second, third, fourth. It's just the top 4 win even amounts of prizes. And then we roll for a random prize for all participants who paid. And that's the other thing. You have the option of paying. If you don't pay, well, there's no prizes for you, but you could still play. You could still try and get the achievements, or you could just try and win the game. So there's this added little push and pull of, well, he's not paying, like, he's not in for the prizes, so he's just here to try and kill everybody. So maybe the other 3 people at the table, kind of target him so we can play for the achievements. I don't know. It is a weird little struggle in there, but it's kind of fun. But what we've done, that's the way it worked before, and what we're testing out right now is we're calling it an EDH Achievement Draft. So what this is we took all those achievements that we had just written on the sheet, and we made cards out of them. So we got about 200 and some achievement cards. Some of them are repeats, some of them aren't. So we deal out 7 cards per player. Then the table, each pod, drafts the achievements. So some of the achievements are very specific, and some of them are a little bit more broad, like controlling 7 basic lands. Just about any player could do that as long as there are 7 lands in your deck. Eliminate the player with the most life, right? So if you're going to kill someone this turn, if you kill the player who has the most life, well, then you get some points. And each of these achievements has kind of a funny name. So if you don't think that your deck can do that, well, then you don't draft that card, right? You pass it, and you pick something else. So if you're playing a mill deck and this card is in your draft pack, someone who has Alzheimer's by forgetting all their spells, this eliminates, if you eliminate an opponent by forcing them to draw from an empty library, or you're the one who milled their last card before their draw step, then you get 3 points. Now, we multiply all our points by 10 because we have to match the kind of point totals that we've been having before. So the number on the bottom is just the indicator of how many points times 10 that achievement's going to be worth. So a 3 is one of the harder ones to pull off. So, like, how do you like dem apples is control 12 or more indestructible permanents. Now, there aren't going to be very many decks that could achieve that, but the guy who's playing the Avacyn, the Avacyn Archangel or Archangel of Light, whatever, the one that makes all your shit indestructible, the guy who's playing that will draft this. Anybody who's not is just going to pass it, right? And then we have quite difficult ones that only very specific decks are going to be able to play. So Colorblind says attack with 3 creatures who have colors not in your commander's color identity. And colorless doesn't count. So this actually came up a little while ago. I was playing Snake Basket, image, and Snake Basket produces green snake tokens, but I'm playing it in a blue-black deck. The other option could be if you cast Rouse the Mob or Insurrection and took everybody's creatures and attacked. You're playing a red-green deck and you just took a bunch of blue and black creatures. Well, you got 3 of them. Then you could possibly get this. Otherwise, you just pass it and don't worry about it. And then another guy down at the shop, he suggested a few of these. All of the Commander pre-constructed decks, well, they have their own mechanics. So there was joining forces, there was the tempt cycle, and conspiracy, a multiplayer format, has Will of the Council. So we threw in a couple achievements based on those. So Coalition of the Willing is an achievement that says using a join forces spell, convince the table majority, including ties, to contribute to your spell. So if you got 4 people at the table and I put mana into it and then 2 more people put mana into it, or even just 1 more, it means convince 1 person, then you get the 3 points. Or rock the vote. So Will of the Council are cards that say you vote for blah, so everybody at the table votes for something. Whichever one wins, then that happens, and then there's usually one designated that will automatically happen if there's a tie. So if you vote for what won or tied, and that happened, then you get points. So as you can see, the way it works isn't necessarily trying to just win the game. You want to try and be in a position where you can get the maximum achievements. And before, everybody at the table knew what everybody was trying to get because the achievements were laid out for everybody and they were all shared. But now I can draft my achievements in secret. I can keep them hidden and then try and attain them, using a little bit of multiplayer Politico, like, you shouldn't attack me. You shouldn't attack me because all I'm trying to do is get this achievement. Maybe you tell someone about it. And if you can convince people to do that, then you can start racking up some points. So there's a little bit more of a political aspect to it, being that now there's hidden information on what I'm trying to achieve. And it can be maybe even a little bit more backhanded, like you can fake out to somebody that you're trying to get, I don't know, whatever achievement, and then just run them through because you had no way to get any of the achievements, so you're just going for the knockout points, right? So there are also automatic points for playing fair, and playing fair means not taking more than 2 turns in a row. So you can cast Temporal Mastery and take your extra turn, but if during that turn you cast Time Stretch and take 2 more turns, well, then you lose some points, right? Because EDH is supposed to be fun, and that's my goal for this show, for this podcast, is to try and get more people to design their decks and design their strategies with a little bit more fun in mind, right? Play those cards that you're not used to playing. Play that, take that overpowered OP broken card and only play it in situations where, it's just regular. It's just normal, right? You can play Deadeye Navigator without having an infinite combo on the board. You can do that. Other people might not, but you have the choice every time you sit down. And it's not about oh, I'm trying not to win, right? I heard this from somebody the other day. It's like, well, you're not playing not to win. Like, I am playing to win, but I don't want to win at the cost of the game, right? The experience is supposed to be the journey. You're supposed to have fun while you're playing the game. And you want the players around you to have fun while they're playing the game because you want them to play against you again, right? So it's not about choosing underpowered things. It's about how you use them. And, that scroll rack counterbalance bullshit, that's not fun. That doesn't let anyone play the game. We're all sitting here watching you scroll rack, right? So that's all this achievement draft is about. Stuff like this. Butterfly Kisses. Deal combat damage with a creature whose base power is 0, right? So if you can get in with an Ornithopter and hit for 1, you get 2 points or 20 points or whatever your multiplier is, right? And then there are funny ones. Control 2 of any combination of book, journal, tome, grimoire, library, or study. Non-lands only. So if you have Jam Day Tome and Grimoire of the Dead on the battlefield, you get points. House Rule. Prevent someone from taking an extra turn in any manner possible. That means you can counter their extra turn spell. You can steal their extra turn, which technically prevents them from having it. Or you could kill them before their extra turn happens. Then you get points. And then there are some easy ones, right? Attack all opponents with at least one creature in the same attack phase. Spread the love. Who wants some? So there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. This is the way that we've kind of evolved to doing it. There's more tweaks that are necessary. There's more adjustments to be made. But we've tried it once for the League Night. And it honestly evened out the points a little bit. We've had nights where first place had 600 points and second place had 250 points. So this has evened it out a bit, made things a little closer, made at least your opportunity to achieve some of these a little bit better because you can tailor your achievements to your deck a little bit, right? You're never going to be able to control all the cards that are in your draft packs, but you can control which of those cards you get to use. So the control players are going to try and get different things than the aggro players, and the mid-range guys are going to have different things than the other ones. Yeah. So that's how we're trying it out. That's what we're gonna give it a go for a couple weeks and see how it goes. All right. Well, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Please like and share. Hit me up on Facebook at facebook.com/theluckiestt-shirt. I appreciate all you guys watching. For those of you watching to the very end, thank you. Thank you very much. You can also check out my Patreon campaign. It's just a little fundraiser for this thing, just to help me cover some of the costs for doing this and maybe upgrade my equipment, maybe get a chair so that I can have some guests on. Otherwise, this is what you're going to get. And if this is enough, awesome. And I think I can do a little bit better. But help me out if you want. Otherwise, it's always going to be free. And thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening. And Greg, I just said your name on the podcast, so have fun with it.